Hey guys, welcome back to the Shotgun Monkey Man Monkey Bombs channel.
Today on my dad's YouTube channel, he's talking about Faction 101 Part 2, building a Stella, grinding for reputation, and rogue currencies.
So let's dive right into it. So as the introduction said, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're getting a little bit further into how that we can build the Stella and dig a little bit further into the rogue faction. So now we've already discussed how to open and get the rogue faction moving, but now let's talk about how that we can actually start building the Stella and working on building the rogue faction a little bit further. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to jump right into what it takes to build the Stella. So first things first, sorry. So first things first, we're going to dig into the faction. So thankfully, Scopely has given us a free way to build a Stella now. So if you're just getting into the rogue faction game, you will, once you unlock the store, you're going to come in here. You're going to see that you can buy 10 blueprints at a time from the rogue faction store. So that does require loot, uncommon exchange loot, which if you watch the first video, we went through a little bit about that, but we're going to talk a little bit more about currencies and how they work in rogue faction now and how that you can build your Stella. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, of course, is attend some exchange armadas. But before we go there, let's talk a little bit about the currencies that are used in rogue faction. So we have the keys, and as we talked about in the last video, the keys you get from grinding on exchange transports. So you're going to go out here and you're going to kill these exchange transports. They're going to give you some keys. Now, before you get the Stella, you're not going to get a bonus, which means that when you kill something that gives you 81 keys, that's all you're going to get. You're not going to get any additional keys. The key, one thing to note, this is a little bit different than a lot of other loot that you would get. The keys are just like par steel or anything else that you get from other surveys in other factions. It can throw you for a little bit of a loop because it builds up in your inventory here. You have to actually take it back to base before it's going to register in the rogue faction store. So you are going to grind for keys. The keys are going to get you directives by coming in here and you pull your directive chest. You're going to get directives, rogue credits, rogue reputation, like we talked about last time. So whenever you're trying to get enough loot, you're going to want to attend these exchange armadas. So obviously this is a fairly large armada here, 18 million. Probably not going to jump straight into something like that before you have a pretty decently built up Stella and have some Outlaw Research under your belt. But we're going to have a look at it. So this armada splits 852 uncommon exchange loot to, it splits that pot for everybody that's attending your armada. So the reason why that's important is because before you have your Stella, you're not going to get a bonus for this. So whatever your division of that pot is what you're going to get. What you see is what you're going to get. Once you get the Stella, then you're actually going to get a percentage increase. So you're going to get your pot divvied out to you, then it's going to receive a bonus of whatever this percentage is. So on a smaller Stella, it's not going to be 425%. I have two Stellas right now. One's at tier 5, one's at tier 6. My tier 5 is at 400%. And I'm pretty sure at tier 1, it's down in the 200s or something along that lines. I don't have one to show you right now. So, nonetheless, the critical thing to think about here when you're grinding to get your Stella, you don't want to come out here to exchange space with anything larger than a 500k ship. If you do, what you're actually doing is you're taking loot away from all of your teammates. So if you have to, if you have to come out here and you're grinding for the loot that you need to get your blueprints, you really want to keep your ship power under that 500k mark. The reason why that's so important is because, as you can see, it takes a lot of keys for someone to, like, say someone at my level to grind for an Armada, for Armada directives. If you look here, I've got to get 27,000 keys to get 50 directives. So if I'm out there and I'm grinding away, getting a bunch of directives, the last thing that I want to do is have someone come in with a million and a half power ship, jump into one of these Armadas and take 70% of the loot. So what would happen with that is, instead of me getting 1/5 of 852 and getting about a 400% bonus on that, so getting a fairly good return here, I would get about 30% of that split between the other 4 people, and then whoever has that 1.2 million powered ship is going to take a majority of the pot. So that's a lot for your teammates to grind that hard to get those directives and then just simply get those taken away. The bonus from the Stella really doesn't counter that enough for it to be worthwhile. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, be considerate of your teammates who are grinding for those keys and getting those directives. So come out with something that's kind of even powered with their Stellas. You're not going to cause any problem with the Armadas if you come out with that kind of a powered ship, especially if your group already has a lot of Stellas in it and you're the only non-Stella. You really don't need to come out with anything more than 400 or 500. I mean, even at my level right now, I could come in there with this hijacked D3 if I was coming in with a non-Stella ship, which is what I would do. Just to give the Armada still a fairly decent amount of power, but stay away from taking the entire pot from the entire group. We did a quick test of this before, and it comes out something like this. We had 2 800k Saladins that attended with 3 Stellas. Those 800k Saladins both got about 200 credits apiece for a level 31 Armada. The rest of the unit got about 90 credits apiece. When those 2 Saladins dropped down to Kamari, so they both brought out 2 400 to 500k Kamaris, they took home about 100 credits apiece, which, yes, they did take a lower pot, but all of the Stellas took about 300 credits apiece. So you can see just how much of a difference that makes. So do be kind to your teammates. Come out with a decent powered ship that's not going to strip the entire Armada, that's not going to wreck their Stella bonus. So good ships to bring out to those Armadas is Kumari, or really anything in that power range, honestly. So you got to attend quite a few of these Armadas, honestly, to get your blueprints. I believe it takes about 1,000 exchange loot to get 10 blueprints. So you're looking at 10,000 uncommon exchange loot in order to get your 100 blueprints that you need for your first free Stella, which means you need to attend about 100 of these armadas, which really, really, if I mean, that's a lot of people sharing armadas with you. You can grind and get some armadas and get those going, but really your teammates are really going to pull you through this. If you can attend any time that you can attend one of those armadas and bring out, your Kamari or your non, Stella lower powered ship, do it. Come out, get the loot that you can, and get those Stella blueprints. So there is another way to get Stella blueprints as well, which is in events. Generally, whenever they run an event that has Stella blueprints in it, you can max out at 50 blueprints. So look for the event store. Check it out every time that they offer it. Look for it. Go ahead and get those blueprints. As soon as you can get your first Stella, then I also recommend just continuing looking for those events and continuing getting Stella blueprints until you have a second Stella. So you can't build a second free Stella without going through an event, which is why I'm saying to do that. So go ahead and just keep looking for those event that gives Stella blueprints, so that way you can get your second Stella as quickly as possible. It could take you 3 or 4 months with the different events that they put out there, but just be mindful of that. Look for that in the events, and definitely do it when you see it. Do the events that are required to get those blueprints. So we kind of touched on it a little bit, but we're talking about rogue currencies. So we started off with the keys. The keys are going to get us directives. So your directives are also, you can get those by the keys. You can also come in and use your green data to get additional directives. So you really want to do that every day if you can. Sometimes I can't do that. This really depends on if I can take the time to grind data and keys and everything else that Scopely wants me to grind all of the time. So that loot is initially going to go into your Stella blueprints. Once you build your Stella, then you're going to see a massive difference. As we already talked about, the Stella has that master thief ability. This bonus is going to make your life so much easier. There's a couple of different things that are going to be easier about the Stella. Number one, it is cheaper to repair. It is faster to repair. You get your Kamari out there with a 4 or 5 hour repair time. Your Stella is only going to take maybe 30, 40, 45 minutes initially. It is going to kick that Kamari's butt. And when you go out there and you start killing Eclipse ships, and you can kill, 10 of them instead of 3 or 4 with the Stella, and then on top of it get the 200 or 300% bonus for those keys, you're going to start racking up those keys a lot faster than when you didn't have the Stella. So again, the grind is really worth it to get the Stella. You should get it as soon as possible and get moving on that. So after your Stella is built, what is the most important thing? That's kind of the next thing that we want to talk about, which is the Outlaw Research. So Outlaw Research is critical. I'm going to show you a couple of different things, but we're going to start off with some of the things that you buy. So as we already said, your keys are going to get you credits. There's also a exchange heist loot. Again, you're gonna start grinding these armadas, and you're gonna be getting quite a bit more heist loot, especially once you get your Stella, because you're going to be getting that bonus, and so it makes it a lot nicer, a lot easier to get a little bit more loot. So you're gonna be coming in here. You can get your rogue reputation to build up your store, and then you can get additional credits with that loot. So again, we talked about keys leading to directives, which leads to loot, which then you can buy credits and rogue reputation and directives with. So the loot also with the credits, then you can go out here and you can buy these Outlaw Research credits. So this is another thing that you're going to need. You're going to need this for research in the Outlaw tree. So again, it's kind of a grind, but it's one thing. One thing leads to the next, leads to the next. You know, keys to directives, directives to exchange loot to these heist crates, and then rinse and repeat. The other thing is your heist loot's also going to get you your uranium, which originally in the faction when you first start off, you're not going to have rare uranium. I'm not sure. I think uncommon uranium is in there, but you're gonna you're gonna want to build your store up until you can get uncommon and rare uranium. So that just comes through again. You know, doing that same grind, you're going to get rogue reputation. It's going to build your store. Um, so, but the uranium is actually used to upgrade your Stella. So, as you can see, I'll show you quickly what this looks like on the upgrade screen. If you come in here, once you get your Stella up to level 20, 25, you're going to be starting to use this rare uranium as well. So you see there's a little beaker here. This little thing is actually how many of these different outlaw researches are applied to your Stella. So if you really want to track your progress in outlaw research and how it applies to your Stella, this is how you can do it. This is your indicator. I've got 21 out of 160, so there is a ton of research to do. If you click on that little button, it's actually going to take you to the Outlaw Research tree, which then you can start going through this tree to see what actually impacts your Stella. So as you can see, there's bonuses that are directly for your Stella. So a lot of people may avoid Outlaw Research initially, but let me show you something. In Anarchist Weaponry, this bonus piercing stats for all ships versus Eclipse, this is all ships, not just the Stella. So this is critical. This is critical research. You want to go in here and do this, even while you're grinding those, before you get your Stella. Come in here and do this Anarchist Weaponry while you're trying to get the Stella, because this is going to be really critical to your success. So there's a couple of other things you're going to see, like Rogue Shields. This is what? Bonus HHP for all ships. It's not just for the Stella. So you're going to find some different researches in here that apply to non-Stella functionality in the game. You're also going to see, crystal research efficiency for buildings and for components on the ships. For research and buildings. So I actually chose the line because you initially get a particle that you can use to open one of these lines. You can either go top or bottom. I chose based on the efficiency that I wanted first. So I actually started with building efficiency, mainly because I wanted to get a hold of that efficiency and lower the cost of some of those really expensive uncommon crystal for the buildings in the 30s levels. It gets really expensive. So again, that's a personal decision you've got to make based on your goals. Is the crystal really costing you a lot more in your research efficiency would be more helpful, or is your building efficiency more helpful to you? And just kind of work your way through that. Once you get up to the point where you can get to this next spot and you can get Eclipse defenses, then you can it'll give you another particle and you can come back here and start the other line. So you're not stuck with one or the other. You will get the particle that you need if you keep going. But this research is so critical. Just keep on digging on this research. So as you can see here, part of research is particles, Stella particles. So this is yet another thing in the grind for exchange. So you ask yourself, how do you get particles? You get particles by scrapping your Stella. Okay. So the higher level that your Stella is, the more particles that you get. It's not based on how many modules you have upgraded. It's based on the level. So for instance, if I scrap this Stella right now, it would be a waste because I have invested all of the materials to upgrade 5 of these modules. I may as well go ahead and get this 6th module, level this up to 30, and then scrap it at 30 without updating any modules on the next tier. So again, if you're going to scrap your ship, do not upgrade any of the modules on that tier, because it's just a waste of your materials. What you want to do is you want to level it to the highest level of that tier, not upgrade anything, and then scrap it. Level 20 is a pretty good place to stop and scrap initially. You get 1,500 particles when you first start scrapping that. As you can see, as you get further into research and your research is higher and higher and higher, you're going to need more and more particles, which means you need to scrap at a higher level. It does get exponentially better. If you scrap a level 45 Stella, you're talking about 460,000 particles, which I am not there. So you want to consider that carefully where you want to scrap at. There's some helps and tips out there for what levels give you the best particles, but you know, that's all about how much you want to grind. So the reason why it's important to get 2 Stellas, obviously, you want one that you can build up and scrap repeatedly. Hopefully stop at level 20. I did that repeatedly every few days. I was grinding a lot though, to build one up to level 20, scrap it, build another one. So when you scrap the Stella, you're actually given a part, and you can go back into the faction store and you see this little guy right here, Stella hull scan. So when you scrap your Stella and it completes scrapping, then once you collect the scrap, you get a hull scan, and you can come back in here and use that to purchase 100 more blueprints for a Stella. And that's what you do. That's how you build your next Stella. So if you have two Stellas, yeah, you can scrap them both if you want to, and you will get 2 more. So you don't have to worry about ever having to buy another Stella or being stuck without one, and unless you're waiting for it to finish scrapping and you only have one, which is why it's important to maybe invest your time and effort into getting 2. So the last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about in this video, there are some crews that can help you. I've successfully used this crew very well. You know, it's a 9-5-7 crew. If you have those crewmates, it's a fantastic crew, especially for grinding those the keys. This is a really good crew for grinding keys. If you don't have that crew, but you have Pike, Moreau, and Chen, fantastic crew to go in there and grind keys with. However, I would not suggest using it for the Armadas. The Armada is always going to be better with a morale crew. If you can at all get that morale crew, do it. You know, Epic Kirk, Rare Spock, Rare McCoy, they make a massive difference. I can tell you, after every one of my tests that I can do, this crew performs better in Armadas hands down than any other crew that I've ever used, whether it's breach, burning, or anything else. I just have not successfully found any crew that handles long battles like this crew does. So the last thing that I really wanted to talk about, that was just kind of a side point there with the crew, sorry. But the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about is additional research that helps you out. So a lot of times we forget that there's additional research points that really do impact your Stella. So here's some research that's going to really benefit you while you're on your grind in Stella space and exchange space. So Armada tactics. You're going to be doing a lot of Armadas. Invest your territory research into Armada tactics. Make sure that you have this leveled up wherever you can. Get it to the highest level that you possibly can. It's going to make a massive difference. Do it. that is absolutely hands down one of the best researches you can do when you're doing outlaw research. The other thing is in your combat research tree, make sure, because some of us drop this whenever we start focusing on galaxy or whatever we're focusing on, come back down here and check out your battleship combat research. Focus on this, get this as high as you possibly can. um, there's also additional researches that you can do in the outlaw research tree. We already talked about that a little bit. Again, in galaxy, come through, do anything that you can to build up your shield regeneration. That's going to be big whenever you're going through there and you're grinding on those hostiles and to get your keys and stuff like that. Whole durability shield modifications. Come through here and check out your whole entire research tree and really try your hardest to get any of the research that's going to impact that Stella. It is a battleship. The hull's huge. If you can get hull research, do it. So just kind of give yourself a little time, get through these researches that are going to be helpful. The other thing, these armadas, they start their 7-minute timer, so you want to get out there as quickly as possible. Go out there and do some warp research. Get your overcharge research done in away teams. Just whatever you can do to really give your Stella a boost, do it, because it's going to have a major impact on how quickly that you can grind those keys, get the loot that you need, and build up. And as you can see, whenever you go back into the exchange store, there's a couple of different things that are really cool. So once you do build up your Stella to the point where you in your exchange, your faction store, to the point where you can dig into it, you can come in here once you're really getting on the grind and you're scrapping that Stella for large amounts of particles. Here we're talking about getting massive amounts of uncommons and rares. So I mean, if a level 45 Stella can get you 460,000 particles, look at how many rolls you can do for these uncommons and rares and really help yourself out when you're really, really critically needing those. And that's for all resources. So again, I hope that this helps. I hope that this helps a little bit on your journey. And if you have any questions about anything specifically, I would like to make a video specifically for that. Just let me know. All right, guys, I know this has been a really long video. Hopefully it's been helpful. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thanks for watching again. God bless.